Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're tackling the final episode of my interior railings. I'm going to paint the upstairs railing that I've been working on for the last few episodes. After that, I'm going to go install the downstairs railing start to finish, showing and quickly explaining each step. If you've missed the previous episodes, don't worry. The goal of this episode is to explain the whole process end to end. Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm Matt. Today we are going to continue on with these railings. We're gonna get them painted up like they are here. We're gonna get all of this masked off for this painting to get them to this point, and then we'll go into the actual pickets and railings themselves and get all this assembled, and then we're gonna move on to the downstairs. Let's get right to work. Since I had to put in a new nosing, I chose to paint this railing in place. I wanted to spray it because I hate painting. I have to do this masking to make sure I'm not painting all of my walls and keeping the overspray mostly contained. When you spray paint, little droplets of paint that don't stick to the wood waft into the air and dry, creating a white powdered dust. This will hopefully contain most of that. So I've talked about spraying a lot in my interior door episode. I just wanted to point out me tightening the lid of this container. You see that, right? Well, apparently it wasn't. I didn't film the cleanup due to my panic, but this is the aftermath of spilling 2 quarts of paint on the floor. It soaked through my socks and my toenails are still partially white. Luckily, I masked the floor and it was unscathed. This is the same finish I used on the interior doors, and I'm not going to go into the process in detail. I'm using a professional water-based lacquer sprayed through a high-volume, low-pressure air spray gun. You can see my extreme fashion-forwards look here. I certainly belong on a runway. Three coats later, and I'm done. All in all, it took me much longer to mask this off and to remove the masking than it did to spray the railings. You probably don't want to watch me unmask. Actually, maybe you do, because this might qualify as one of the most satisfying things to do on a project. Look at that. All right, so in the last episode, I had measured and cut a few of the pickets, but I never did measure the short railing. On this one, I'm gonna double check to see if this is the same height or I have to actually cut a different height for the pickets. We'll measure our pickets, I'll cut them, and then we'll get this one in as a test and see where we go on that other side. Now, I need to be exceedingly careful with doing this, because if I scratch the paint, I have these reversed. That's why it's not working. So I was smart and wrote wall on one end, so I should probably pay attention to that and put it in the right spot. All right, that works a lot better. Okay, there we go. I scratched the living crap out of this. That comes off. All right, now I'm just gonna do a quick tape measure job. 34 3/4 existing pickets to make sure. All right. They're the same. Yay! So I'm gonna go cut 20 more of these. Holy crap, these are heavy! All right, I chopped up all of these railings. The one thing I'm not sure, they had trouble getting into the railings even with the proper size bits. So I may have to chase those holes out because the paint may have closed that up enough that I actually need to do something about it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with the short one and then start on the long railing. Now, I don't know if it's smart starting with this one, because I honestly don't know if this one's gonna be easier or harder than the other one, because there's a lot more flexibility with the bigger railing. So I need to put these in the right way. Oh, no, they do fit. They are pretty tight. Are they all the right way? Okay, let's look at this. Are these the right way? You wiggle a little bit. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be somewhat SMRT, stick some tape where the middle of the keyway is. I think this will help me line it up. I'm gonna do the same thing on here. If I can freaking line up tape properly, it might help my chances. All right, and now you can't see anything at all from that angle, so let's move you around here. You can see my tape lines. If I was smart, which I'm not, we've established that on this show, I would have put these in. I'm gonna take this and just, oh crap. Yeah, So, but it is hard to get them in. There we go, loosened up, hopefully, maybe. All right, so I'm gonna go low enough here. Holy crap, that was exponentially easier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so I lined up these tape lines. And this is actually good. So the nice thing about these rail bolts is what it seems like is that they're dead in line. When I just get these in, they're dead in line up here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and push the retention things in. Okay, that pin's in. Okay, that pin's now in. Now, this is more what I thought it was gonna be. Very difficult. Oh, okay, well, maybe not. Take the tape off here. Let's try it from this side. Let's get you up in here and you can see my struggle. So what I think is happening is this rail bolt isn't actually going far enough in. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was right. Good. So you see how that dropped? Give it a good whack. And that's in. Wow. Nice. Tighten the crap out of this. There we go. You give it a final hit because it's not tight unless you hit it. That was exponentially easier than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, I did not mark it, which is gonna make this entertaining to say the least. I think this side is over here. And let's, oh, these ones are all good because I chased them out with a drill bit. Okay, let's get this going. Now, what I need you guys to do is yell at me if I put these the wrong way. But unfortunately, by the time you yell at me, I'll have already realized it, had to take the whole thing back apart and put it back together. There's hair on here already. It's not my hair. So these ones I took the rail bolts out of before I painted them because I needed the holes to hang them. So I'm gonna drop it in, throw this here, use my finger, and then go the opposite way that I think they need to. All the way that way, so that one's good. I'll get the other one in and then we're gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna mark the edges, mark here, and then we'll get them installed. Now, one thing I learned with these, installing the other railing, is you really need to have them so that you can't feel any metal here. Because what ends up happening is it scratches the crap out of the post as you lower it down. So make sure they're in, and then when you get them in the pockets, you may have to extend the bolt out so that it actually catches the keyway, and that's fine. It's really easy to do, but this way you'll make sure that you don't damage your railings when you're putting it in. I have 22 of these posts to put in, so I am assuming I am going to really struggle doing this, so enjoy that. So again, I'm just using this tape to mark where on the rail bolts they need to drop in. Okay, so much easier. Looking at this tape, I'm probably gonna set this bolt in before I start at all. Oop, no, don't do that. So what I'm doing here is I'm moving along, putting them in, I'm lifting them slightly up into the bottom pocket and then hammering them down in. Because what I need to do is, we're at quite an angle right now across here. So I'm about a ½ inch off here and I'm inside the pocket right here. So I just need to do a little bit of a lift. Well, I'm doing 2 at a time because it makes it a little bit easier. And then you give it a good whack. Oh, shoot. And then you do that and lift a whole bunch of them up. And then you have to go back and redo a whole bunch of work. Okay, so downward pressure on the rail. At the same time, I'm gonna need to get a mallet. So I have to be careful not to overshoot this, because if I can't get it in the pocket, it's gonna make this whole process pretty freaking useless. Let's struggle. Oh. There we go. I loosened the rail bolt up. It's in. Let's see if I can whack this into submission. Now, do I have a hammer? I do! So this is just a 2x4 with a towel wrapped around it. All right, how down is that? Oh, wow, that's awesome. Nice! Okay, so that was tight, which is why it was hard to get down. Ta-da! Okay, let's see what that did. I think it did nothing. Yeah, it's still, I think I'm fine with it. So here's what it looks like. I'm happy with this. Now, I'm quite happy with this railing. Once all the paneling's done and painted white, it's gonna tie in beautifully. I think that from, I don't know, a more modern-y perspective, this is pretty, it ends up being a pretty old style railing, which is interesting. I thought it would look a little bit more modern than this. I think that if I would have done the posts white, the top rail, the shoe, and the nosing in the white oak, I think it probably would have been just a little bit more modern, but I am quite happy with this. I think it looks great. It is super stable compared to what was here before. We'll get down on that downstairs railing and we'll get that sorted. Let's get on the downstairs one. Okay, here we go. Start to finish railing build. I started out by laying out where the post is going with tape. This flooring needed a couple filler pieces where the floor guy, for whatever reason, left a few gaps. Once that's done, it's the same as before. Mark an X with a straight edge, which locates the center of the post. I then laid the metal post foot on it and marked the perimeter. I'm using a router with a straight cutting bit to recess the floor so that the foot of the metal post can sit flush. You do not need to use metal posts for inside Newel posts. The metal posts don't stop side to side movement by themselves. They are there to act as a tension rod. What this means is that once the top bolt is tightened down, it will keep the post pulled down against the floor. Zip Bolt sells a specific bolt for the same purpose, or something like all thread would work just as well. I did this because it was free for me. Other methods include cutting a hole and bolting the Newel post to the joist, or using a large dowel and gluing that into the floor. You saw me just put construction adhesive under the post. This takes up any unevenness under the floor for a rock solid fit. It's then attached down using a huge amount of structural screws into the beam below. The post is then fitted, and I tap on the top with a hammer to transfer the screw head locations onto the bottom of the post so that I can drill a little bit to relieve a pocket for them to fit into. This helps the post sit directly on the floor. I'm then gluing a spacer block in that makes the square inside of the post round. I then temporarily tightened the post down to scribe and level it. This post needed almost nothing, but several of the upstairs posts did, so if you want to see how I did that, watch video number 2 of this series. Next up is the half post on the wall. After a quick level check, I jumped right into drilling holes for dowels. These will stop the bottom of the post from moving and they'll be hidden. I laid these out by just measuring and marking both the floor and the post. Next is to set the handrail height using a laser level. The railing hardware system that I'm using uses metal keyways to connect the handrails with the post, so a 1-inch hole then gets drilled in the post. The keyways then can be pre-drilled and then screwed into the post. The half post is fastened to the wall using a long number 10 screw hidden behind the metal keyway. For some reason, I didn't get a video of me installing the shoe. Here's me vacuuming instead. It's as simple as marking its length and then cutting it. Fitting the handrail is just a multi-step, progressive process where it's set in place, scribed, and cut down using a chop saw. DIY top tip. To keep your significant other happy, always cover up their couch so that it doesn't get dusty. Once it's at the final length, I need to mark out the pin locations on the end of the handrail and the pocket for the adjuster. For more in-depth look at the system, go take a look at the third video in this series where I talk about it in detail. Those are then drilled and then the hardware is test fit. The rail can be fit into place in preparation for transferring the picket locations, which is done with a laser to ensure a perfect fit. This is done for each and every picket. That is the end of the dry fit process. Now everything gets taken apart, because instead of spraying this in place, I'm going to do it in the spray booth instead and install it finished. I almost forgot that I need to drill out this handrail. It gets drilled with a proper size bit for the pickets, then I beveled the holes with a countersink. After a quick test fit, these are ready to go for paint. You've seen me paint before, even in this episode, so just enjoy a short montage of the 3-coat process. If you're still here at this point in time, if you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. I am slowly going through and renovating my 1970s house, one project at a time, and I'm documenting it here. If you're already subscribed, thanks very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, and give this video a like. All right, I got all this stuff painted here. Doing this in the spray booth, lots of people have asked me what's the difference between doing what I did upstairs and doing all of this stuff down here in the spray booth. Well, I can tell you that the stuff that I sprayed in place probably was a B+. Finish-wise, this is like a full A. This is nice and smooth. I was able to sand it really nicely. Could I have done a little bit better job on what I did upstairs if I would have had a little bit more time? Yeah, probably. But it's just so much easier to control. The posts are so much easier to paint. Now that this is all painted, we need to start getting it in. I need to treat this really nicely. Here I have a baseboard that I have kicking around. These are all the ones that I made for the whole house. It's gonna go between the cabinet over there and the railings that are all sprayed in the same lacquer. My goal is to get this entire railing in today, in the next 2 hours. So yeah. Wish me luck. So first order of business here is to get this baseboard on. I'm gonna do some marking. I put some tape on it just so that I don't get a pencil line. On the floor already. All right, so now here's the line that the baseboard needs to come to. Holy crap, this wall is super rough too. Neat. I need to fit the bottom all the way along. It's not terrible and I could caulk it, but I think I'm gonna scribe it instead. I'm just sliding a pencil along. I need to sand along that line to get this perfect. All right, so the really only good way of doing this is with a belt sander. Here's what you get. This should fit dead to the floor, which it does not. Oh, it's up over here. All right, let's see if this is better now. All right, so when I beveled the bottom of this, I must have not ground it properly. Oh, shit, yeah. So I did not grind a proper back bevel, so I'm gonna take this back out. It's gonna go up. Now, it is not gonna get attached until the very end, just in case. But now I can actually continue. Now that this baseboard's fit, it is time to get this post in. No, my dowel. First order of business is to get these dowels put in. Glue on the dowels themselves. Okay, look at that. Look at that nice baseboard fit here. Well, you can't see it because you're from the other side, so that's kind of a useless statement from me. That bit's not gonna work. Take 3. There we go. While we're here, let's get the keyway in. Everyone. There we go. That is a permanently mounted post. Look at that. That looks good. I'm quite happy with that. Maybe I should put a cover on that outlet. Might be too professional for me though. I'm gonna move these out of the way because I've almost stepped on them about 10 times. Let's get the post done. Let's get some goop on this. Again, this is polyurethane that's a little cottage cheesy, but it hardens up just fine. I did not record which side of this goes where. Slip the bolt in, cross-threaded, I think it is. That's not a good noise. Pretty solid. It'll solidify up a little bit more with glue. It's lifted in the middle, which is actually a good thing because when I glue it, I can weight it down in the middle and it'll hold. All right, I'm gonna get the shoe in now. So the way we're gonna do this is set a line on both sides with tape because I don't really want polyurethane glue all over this. And then I'm gonna find a way to weight it for a little bit. And I realize that now I can't keep going because this is gonna have to get glued. I got this thing set back in place, tape line in place, mostly to tell me where or where not to get glue. I'm not taping the whole thing. Now I'm trying to keep this really thin. PL Premium polyurethane glues actually expand. Tight bond here. Pull this tape. Now, my initial plan on this was to drive a couple brad nails down into this to hold it. So what I might do, set something on this in lieu of clamping. And luckily I just ordered new brakes for my car, some 45-pound disc brakes to put on it. Now, if you're planning on using car parts to weigh down your woodworking project, what you need to make sure you do is buy top of the line, Brembo, Italian, nice high-end car parts. Cheap steel doesn't hold down woodworking as well as really expensive steel. I looked this up, the PL Premium up. They say a 24-hour clamp time, so that doesn't work for me. I want to get this done today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some brad nails in here. I'm just going to put some pins in both ends and then probably 2 or 3 places in the middle. So I'm going to get started right into that. Okay, so one little tip for doing this is if you have to do this, I'm gonna take some tape, put it across, and I'm gonna drive my 2 pins. Let's get my Italian clamps off, because those are next week's problems. If you leave this tape on, shoot a brad nail through it, what you can do is, whoop, not do that, don't do that, that's bad. Tiny dab, zip. This one's gonna be a little bit of a problem. And I'll let these dry for a day. Come back with a little art paintbrush and put a dab of finish on them and pretty much disappear. Now, you can see them, but they're not super obvious. Okay, next order of business here. Let's get the railing up because I need to do a quick measurement for posts. It should be almost identical to what's upstairs because I used the same reference height to set the pins in, and I used the same measurements to do the railing, but I want to get it all squared away, get it in, because if there's any differences, now's when you want to find it. And I'm going to mark the center of the keyway. That's essentially the center of that pin. So I marked this. I don't know what side's A. I'm going to make assumption that that side is A. I don't have any idea, and if I had a marking on these, I painted over it. Okay, so it can get taken off. There. Perfect. This is the easiest method of post attachment I've ever seen. Okay. Yeah, 35 3/4 plus. So best news of the day, I went out to the metal bandsaw and I marked one of these posts with it and I lined it up to where I have the jig set up to cut the ones from upstairs, and this is identical. All right, let's see how quickly I can do this. I have to trial fit the tops of the post in this first, because otherwise it's really, really tough to get in. All right, so that was half the struggle. Now let's get these posts in. There we go. So we gotta set the railing. There we go, okay. So I got that locked in. So now that this is locked in over here, I can work my way down. There we go, that's in. Okay, so both my keyways are in now. So this is just an exercise to getting all of these pickets in. That, there, is that one in? Those ones are in. Brute force time. This bows up in the middle. All right, you get an Allen key. Oh, and I need to go backwards because it's left-hand thread. There we go. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.